and bring together all of the harnesses. Your Ken 1, the main harness here, comes taped up like so. On it there are some harnesses that need to get plugged into each other. There's a bunch of them here. Let's kind of work our way through this to have it make some sense. As we said in the previous vehicle, this is a much more condensed version of it because it's going into a specific vehicle, therefore they can shrink it down some. Here we can see how everything needs to go together. First is the yellow harness here. We have a male and a female. This is for our backup camera if the car has one. The orange connector next to that will be for our mic 1. Box 3 talks about whether you have an amplified or non-amplified system. If you have the amplified system, you really should get the line level adapter for it. But that is going to plug into our main harness here that has our speaker wires on it. There's a nice male and female plug, goes together, as well as a set of blue wires that also need to get connected. There is a pigtail hanging off of it according to this, which goes to this harness here, which will have the sub RCA if your car has the active subwoofer on this channel, as well as the blue wire that plugs into this harness here. These are the 3 main harnesses that plug into the car. And then we have a couple more harnesses that come off, and these are designed to plug into our RR2 or RR. First one is the main power plug. Then we have a green connector, and then a bigger black connector that goes on the opposite side. And that's it for this harness. Now, if you'll notice here on the instructions, it says data cable and audio cable. These come in your RR or RR2, and these connectors here need to also be connected or the system will not work. First is the 3-pin audio connector, goes on the same side as that bigger plug. Then we have the data connector, which is a 4-pin black that goes on the same side as the green and the black plug there. There is a ground wire here that needs to get hooked up to the display screen on the radio, and then the Ken 3 plugs into the universal input on the main harness. Let's take a pause right here and take a look at our mic 1. This needs to be flashed, which means inside of this bag is going to be another USB adapter. There is a main power plug. This power plug is the same power plug that is located here on our main harness. It is designed to tee into it, unplug it from the brain, plug it in, and that is going to provide our accessory and ground. Also in the box are 3 adapters depending on what radio you're using. The little white fantails here tell you what they're for. For example, this one says Pioneer. This one here says JVC, Kenwood, Sony, Boss, Jensen. We know we're gonna need that. And this one says Alpine. We're not gonna need these. There is an orange adapter, this little pigtail here, which is designed to get plugged into the orange adapter on the main harness. And then there's also a red to red, which gets plugged right next to where we plugged in our data, which is a red input here. And then this will go off into the red input here. But before we plug this in, we need to flash this module. There is a USB-C located on this side. Let's plug the unit in, go back to your software, and select Redetect, Flash by Vehicle, 2020 Mustang, Ford. My Ford 8-inch amplified speaker system, JVC, KW-Z 800AW. You don't need the serial number on this one. Flash the firmware. Where it says features and it has 0 dB and you click on it here, you have a couple options: 0, 5, 10, -5, -10. This is done here at Flash. In some cases, it will also be available through your RR. If you flash it for 0 and you decide it needs to be more sensitive, you can look through your RR or RR2 and see if you can find this page, or just plug it back in and reflash it from here. We'll stick with 0 for right now and select continue. Install guides. Look up our kit, which we have S8F01, which is going to use diagram A. Click on it. This is going to tell us where we need to plug in all our cables on this. There are a couple options. So we look at the red, and red says to go into 4B, which is the red input on the side of the unit. 4A is our power, which is located on the 4-pin next to the white connector on the opposite side of the red. 3A is where we're going to plug in our mic input, and then 2A, which is located on the side with the red pin, is where our microphone will get plugged into. Make sure you follow these instructions. They're all numbered and whatnot in order for this to work. Now we have all of our connections ready for our brain box. They do give you a general idea of how to plug things back into place and reconnect it. One last thing we need to do here on the bench is build the USB hub replacement. The radio that we're using has a USB-C. However, this does come with a regular USB and a USB-C. Make sure that when you're plugging these things in, you do get them right. There is an orientation that allows them to properly go into the holes. There is a back plate. Don't forget to put the back plate on. It has an orientation. When you get them in, snap it into place. Something to note, on the other end, guess what? They're both USB-Cs. You're gonna wanna mark your choice. I'm gonna put a silver dot so that I know which one is the USB-C to USB-C. On the back of the radio, we do need to do a few things. Plug in our RCA inputs. And because we do have a backup camera, plug in our camera inputs and remove the rear camera cover. Then add in our grounds like we showed in the previous video. The antenna adapter is also in the box. Plug that into our antenna. Attach the main harness. Plug in your backup camera, your data connection, as well as the audio in. The mic 1 gets plugged into the mic input. Cable that you need to keep out and accessible is this ground here. This is going to attach to the back of the screen. It needs to be routed with these cables. So for now, I'm just going to put a zip tie on them, so while I'm getting this into the dash, it doesn't get lost. This is all set and ready to get plugged back into the vehicle. Look for the bag that says GND. That is going to be the ground screw that we're going to need to hook up the ground wire that we talked about earlier. When looking at the back of the radio, at the very top here, it says GND. That's where this wire is going to attach. Make sure to keep it out of the way of the main harnesses and tighten it down. Plug in your big gray connector. Plug in the big gray connector. Listen for the click. Plug in your blue connector. Now in this particular install, the dash is kind of tight. Our RR2 and our mic 1 went up here in the top where the factory screen was located. This will sit in front of it. Add back in the screws that you removed earlier. The last step is to tuck in the screen cables behind the screen and up and out of the way. That gets us our pieces installed into the dash. Next, we need to put it back together in reverse order. And there we have it. Look at that. It looks identical. We have the front bezel on, screens in place. I mean, looks factory. How anticlimactic is that, right? No. Let's turn this thing on. Boom. Look at that. Now that it's installed in the car, just like in the previous video, we need to go in and set up some of our features like clock, pick your time zone, displays and buttons, view angle. I'm gonna use -1 camera. This has a rear view camera. I'm gonna leave the parking guidelines on. We're not using any other cameras. Now we have Maestro setup that's available to us. We have some vehicle features we can go in, vehicle settings, ambient lighting control, edit door keypad code. This doesn't have one of those, but it's a default for Ford. These would all be things that were in the factory radio that will now be retained in the JVC. Turn off the demo. System configuration. We're gonna leave it for a standard 2-way. Built-in amplifier is on, and the brain is mounted in a horizontal position. With all that, select finish, hit agree. We learned how to use these, so we'll hit OK. Some of the features that we now have access to, we have vehicle information, so telling us our tire pressure, as well as the doors that we have open, our battery voltage, and if I get a check engine light, I can press this. It'll tell me the code, as well as give me the option to reset it. It's also telling me that I'm in drive. Now, the nice thing about the air conditioning is that obviously you can go to it through the menu system, but anytime you touch one of the air conditioning controls, it'll automatically bring up the air conditioner so that you can turn up and down your blower, or you can do it here as well. You do have the option for it not to do that when you go into the settings. You can have auto display turned on and off, so like right now it's on. If you don't want it to do that, you can turn it off. And then one of the other big features is gauges. So now you have your custom gauge cluster. You have preset 1 and preset 2. So if I'm like wanting to see how fast this car goes, I can leave it on 0 to 60. It'll give me how fast I go up to 0 to 60. I can also press and hold these and change what I want that specific perfect thing to be, which makes it kind of nice. So you can custom design your own gauge cluster. If I put it in reverse, my backup lines appear. All right, guys, there you have it. The direct replacement JVC system is installed in the Mustang. This is the end. We hope you enjoyed this 3-part series. Make sure to go back and watch part 1 and 2. You guys have a great day as always. We'll see you later next time. Bye.